Shindeji. Now our speaker is Dr. Satya Vadlamani, Chairperson and Managing Director, Murlikrishna Pharma Private Limited. Now we move on to invite someone who has emerged victorious and has come out with flying colors in a male-dominated business as she narrates her experience as a woman entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Satya Vadlamani as she speaks with us today on Who Am I and My Disruptive Entrepreneurship Journey. India is the third largest producer of medicines in the world, an industry that employs nearly 50 million people, but only 15% of them are women. Our next speaker today is Dr. Satya Vadlamani, Chairperson and Managing Director of Murlikrishna Pharma Private Limited, who is running her own manufacturing plant near the city of Pune, a leading drug delivery systems DDS company in India that provides a range of effective solutions to optimize the delivery of pharmaceutical products. An electrical and electronics engineer by education, she carries with her more than 22 years of experience in global marketing of pharmaceutical products. She started her career in marketing at Armor Chemicals Limited in the year 1992 and later worked at Biochem Synergy Limited, and there was no looking back. She worked in various capacities, the last being with Ajanta Pharma Limited, international marketing in the capacity of a GM. She also happened to be the youngest woman GM. She started her own pharma export company in 1997 purely as an indenting operation. The company was initiated under the name of Murlikrishna Exports Private Limited. In 2003, as business opportunities increased, she switched over her operations from indenting to trading. Murlikrishna Exports involves in exporting bulk APIs and semi-finished formulations in form of pellets. In the year 2004, she decided to start her own venture in terms of manufacturing semi-finished formulations under the name of Murlikrishna Pharma Private Limited. Now, please welcome Dr. Satya Vadlamani.
Thank you very much for a very wonderful introduction given to me and given about me rather than to me. So I don't think there's much I can talk about myself at the end of all this, but firstly let me thank Mr. Satya Brahma for starting off a lot of introduction about me. I think he built up more expectations than I have on myself. So I'll just start off. I would like to take a step back, first talk about myself a bit, or rather my company a bit, and then I will talk about disruptions in the pharmaceutical industry owing to the pandemic, the mergers, the acquisitions. I probably will not talk much on the data because everybody is aware of the statistics. And I also do not have a presentation in place, so I apologize for that. So you'll have to only listen to me talk rather than anything else. My background is, yes, as the lady, the anchor put it, I am an engineer, an electrical engineer who ventured into pharma by mistake or by accident. So God alone knows why I got there, but then I stuck there, which is the strangest part even to me. I come from an educationist background. I grew up in a family where my late father was an emeritus professor with IIT Bombay, and my mother a school teacher. She's still here, and she's very much a part of this conference today. And yeah, I belong to a family which believed in jobs and not in entrepreneurship, and I don't know how I got here. So to make a long story short, when I decided to set up Murlikrishna Pharma, the first statement put to me by my father was, do you know how many zeros are there in a crore? Do you know how many crores you're planning to put in, and do you know what will happen if all this sinks? So yeah, I was worried. I did know the number of zeros, but I was taking a risk, and an unmitigated risk at that. But well, it's proved successful, I guess, and I always tell people before I start anything that in India, unfortunately, entrepreneurship is an uncharted course into deep seas with absolutely no idea about what is going to be the depth, without any gear, without any safety net or any safety precaution in place. So people who dive in, I think out of the 100 people who dive in, only 5 or 6 of them come up. And those who come up are the people who are known to the world as known entrepreneurs, and those who go down are people who are not known to anybody. So my salute to even those who have gone down, because trust me, it's not easy setting up an industry in India. We don't have sufficient moratoriums, we don't have banks that support us, we don't have laws that protect us. So in all this, it's not easy, and pharma, unfortunately, is a highly regulated industry. It's a very small industry, highly regulated industry. I think we have more regulations in place in pharma than even in food, though FDA is a common platform. A person can sell a pani puri on the roadside, nobody questions him on the grade of water. But if you set up a pharma plant, everything from the residues down to the impurities, down to a whole bunch of systems and a whole bunch of regulations get into place. And that makes life very difficult for all of us. So having said that, it was not easy. I had the help of Dr. Vijay K. Shastri, who is also present in this forum. He has been my partner, my mentor, and my guide. So he's been my partner, mentor, and guide, and I think I started Murlikrishna Pharma thanks to my dependence on him. Rather, I believe that, yes, he would guide me through the whole thing, and he has been a part and parcel of all our innovations and all that we have done at Muralikrishna. I also have a lot to thank for my parents, because they stood by me, and I think there were times when I wanted to give up, but I do know that it was their strength that made me stand up and ensure I never gave up on all this. And then there have been a whole bunch of people, my children, who were sacrificed at the altar of my career. They're doing very well for themselves, but I don't think they thank me much for it. They thank my parents more for it than they do me. So I started this entire Murlikrishna Pharma started off in 2004 as a company, as a plant. We formed the company in 2004. 2005, the plant was commissioned, and it was a greenfield operation. And we decided to traverse a tougher way because we wanted to go the aqueous route. And it's not easy, because everybody is aware in pharmaceuticals that 90% of the pharmaceuticals in the market today do have a large amount of solvents present in them, and we did not want to use solvents. So that meant that we would have to innovate from day one. We would have to work on products matching the innovators, but ensuring that we did not use organic solvents in the product. So it was difficult. And then we decided to stick to pre-finished formulation intermediates. A reason behind it being I was only used to selling things in drums and not in the blisters and in the bottles, etc. So it was not easy for me to move on to blister packing. And APIs as a regulatory plant would be difficult for us to set, since we were first generation entrepreneurs. We were not people with background money. So the next best option was the mid-level, that is the PFIs. So that's how the plant came up. It's on a 1-acre plot, and we had a single plant. We got our first approval from the European Union in 2007. And we were also 100% export-oriented unit with an aqueous platform, of course. We went on to do a lot of innovations on our own with no external aid coming into us except through investments in the company. We did not get any additional aid from any source. Since then, we have been audited a number of times by the European Union, the EU bodies, and by the WHO and by Jordanian FDA, as well as customer-based audits from big companies like Pfizer's, the Mylans, the Sandoz, the whole bunch of them. Being an export-oriented unit, we always targeted the overseas markets rather than the Indian markets. The last 2 years, we have been focusing and trying to move inward, where we are trying to focus on offering our products within the country. So let's talk about the pandemic. What does the word pandemic bring forth to everybody? The movie Contagion that came in 2011, it was a replica of it. We never expected the world to fall flat. Every country, on an average, stockpiles around 4 months of stocks with it, of medical supplies, to take care in case of, in events of any natural calamities, in events of any famine, in events of any warlike situations. All the countries pan-world collapsed at the advent of this disease, which started in China and moved across the world. first lesson it taught us: do not try and create artificial viruses. Whatever may be the reasons, any biomedical weapon cannot be taken back. It may not have started as a weapon. Nobody can prove whether it was brought in for it, whether it was accident or whether it was something else. But the fact remained that the virus was there in a lab. From there, how it went out is anybody's guess. I think after Second World War, when people decided to take care in all aspects, somewhere people forgot that bioweapons could prove to be a major, major disaster. And it was a major disaster zone. What we faced in 2020 was a collapse world over of all systems, a failure of healthcare systems. I do agree when Mr. Satya Vadlamani said that it was India. It's not India alone. The entire world, the Western world, which claims to have the most developed medical fraternity available with them, the most developed systems in place, even they collapsed. You were seeing dead bodies. You were seeing, it was something which was beyond anybody's imagination. As I said, the first thing that comes to mind is that movie Contagion again, because Contagion was a movie made in 2011 on SARS. And this was a repeat of it. We were seeing it in real life. What happened with SARS and Ebola was they did not impact every person across the world. But unfortunately, COVID-19 impacted everybody. It impacted industries, it impacted humans. All of us lost someone or the other dear to us during this period. 2020 was a dangerous year. The last probably major investment or merger that took place in 2020 was 2019, I think, between GSK and Merck for an Alzheimer-based disease. And some rare cancers, I think probably it was rare cancers that was put up for. People forgot what it was like to live. There were homeless people, there were jobless people, there were people who were suffering, people who did not have the requisite medical supplies available to them, people who did not get oxygen, people who were dying, who did not even get a decent burial because of lack of amenities, fear of infection. People didn't know how this infection was spreading. So you kind of found people just moving away from each other. 2020 was really horror revisited. I think we were a generation that were born after the Second World War, so we never saw what happened in the Second World War, but we did see what happened in 2020. And I think whatever were the problems after World War II were repeated in 2020 by the world. So first of all, a moment of thanks to all the healthcare professionals, to all the sanitization workers, to the defense personnel, to all the police, to all the people around the world who have ensured that people have been taken care of at risks to their own lives. They took risks. While we were able to at least sit back and not move out, and we were able to take other precautions, but these were people who were exposed daily to those viruses. And they still did it out of a commitment, out of the Hippocrates Oath, which the doctors had taken, and it was something different. I mean, I don't think any social service in the world can cover or can claim to do what was done by the doctors, the hospitals, and everybody else during that period, the sanitization workers et al. So what happens then? This was all the black part of the COVID-19 or the pandemic as we call it. What were the pros, what was the silver lining for the pandemic? It brought the world together. It brought the entire world, the entire medical fraternity, the entire pharmaceutical fraternity, technologies, everything came on one ground. The world got together. It decided to fight a pandemic together. You had earlier what people treated as competition to one another or what companies treated as competition. Suddenly you found everybody getting on one platform and trying to find a methodology by which the disease could be contained. And that for me was a very great thing. I mean, I really saw that all over the world, people were helping one another, the countries were helping each other. There was a common platform on which the hospital supplies, the medical devices, the medicines, everything were distributed. While I'm not saying it reached everybody across, but at least it helped contain the disease to a large extent. And then there was also the pharma industry that worked with the R&D working overtime, which ensured that vaccines which normally take years to come out, vaccines came out. And I think that was a unique thing. We never expected vaccines to come out by the end of 2020, which it did. We started getting vaccines from Serum Institute with AstraZeneca. We had the Bharat Biotech coming in with Covaxin. We had Sputnik coming in from Russia. And of course, now a lot more have come in from various companies, which are variety of vaccines have come in. Besides that, then we had the drugs coming in. We had a lot of antiretrovirals that came in, a lot of trials. Thanks to the regulations being lowered considerably, the drugs were able to come out. There were emergency approvals being provided for drugs to save people. And I think that was the silver lining which I saw. I realized that mankind and humanity had not died. People were no longer only interested in making money for themselves. They were interested in saving lives. And I think that was the only silver lining that did come out of this pandemic. And people also realized that it's not you for yourself, it's you for the world. And I can state something. Murlikrishna Pharma as a company also was working all the way from March of last year till today. We have not stopped even for one day. We went on taking. All the necessary precautions were taken by us. We vaccinated our people. Even before that, we were taking care of our people, using the social distancing. But we did not stop the plant. We were not into COVID-19 medicines, let me be very honest at that point. But we are today working on a couple of projects for a US-based company, which is a polysaccharide-based product. It is not an antiretroviral, it's a polysaccharide-based product, which is both in an IV form and a tablet form, which is going to undergo clinicals now. And that product, whatever we have seen the way it's working, it works really well in terms of actually ensuring that any form of this virus, any form of the mutations, it works on and prevents. It can actually work as an oral vaccine because you can take it and go out to a mall, go out to a movie theater, go out anywhere you want to go and you will not get the infection. So we are working on it. We have completed our work. We got the approval from the CDSCO and all, and we are now awaiting the clinical results phase. So hopefully if that happens, we have a product in place. And being a polysaccharide, it will not harm the human body, unlike an antiretroviral. So we are hoping that it works well enough. So having said this, this is something which we are doing. Now, during this pandemic, what happened? Up to 2019, I said the last of the M&As occurred. There were very few of them that happened in 2020. In 2020, what we saw was there was, in fact, a PE fund which has invested even in our company in 2020. We were the lucky beneficiaries of a PE fund in 2020. This was India Life Sciences Fund 3, which had a $250 million portfolio with them, and they invested around 140 crores in the month of May of 2020 on us as well as on another company. And over the period of this last 1 year, they have invested around, I think tentatively they have completed their entire $250 million investment in pharmaceutical sector and healthcare sector in India. I think all PE funds still find pharma or healthcare a very good product to have in their portfolio because this is one thing that will never let them down. And this they always keep to maintain their portfolio well. And pharma, one thing is there, I'm sure all the PE funds, if there are any of them out here today, they would be thinking, one additional selection criteria they can put in, resilience during the lockdown periods, or within the disruption, how many pharma companies have managed to sustain themselves, and resilience in that would be something which would become a selection criteria for them too. It was a tough call for the companies, and I would really like to take this opportunity after this meeting, after this thing during the lunch, to discuss with a couple of companies as to how did they sustain themselves. It was, it was like, how do I put it? Somebody told me, you're in pharma, so you must be doing very well. I said, I'm sorry, it's not like that. Any industry requires a lot of support industries. What happens if the engineering industries are not working? You're not going to get your spare parts. If your API manufacturer is shut down, how are you going to get the APIs? If the intermediate guy has gone, how will he get the API guy get the intermediate? So it's not a one-man story. It's a combined thing. So if somebody falls, the chain is going to fall down too. But yeah, people have sustained, people have survived, and we are living to talk today. in this pandemic, Mr. Satya Brahma has also been able to conduct a meeting and call people across is something which is unique to him. So we are doing, we're all alive. And I think today everybody looks at life as, I'm there, I'm here today, and that's great. So that's the good part about it. And if we look at the M&As, yes, compared to 2020, we have, I think there's been an increment of around 413% in terms of the mergers and acquisitions that have happened across the world, out of which nearly, I think, $123 billion have already been invested in various companies up to May 2021. And they expect to bring it up to 1.4 trillion by the year end. Of this, the largest, as of now, what are visible are, I think, Thermo Fisher, which has taken over a CRO, and another one has been, I think, another company called Icon, which has taken some stake in a company, in another CRO. The major beneficiaries have been CDMOs and CROs compared to other, you're not seeing the big players play in yet, but the beneficiaries are still the CROs and the CDMOs. So we hope to see 2022 as a better year. The thing here is, we still don't know what COVID-19 is going to present to us. It's an artificial virus, so it's bound to keep on mutating. And as it goes on mutating, whatever medications we put up, whatever vaccines we do, there will be a need for booster shots over a period of time. So we had better be prepared for a long haul. It's not going to end so soon. And I always feel that when the going goes tough, the tough get tougher. So it's my request to the entire industry, to all the people, that we just need to work harder, that's about it, and look at how far we can all go. In fact, the funds that came to us, we have used it all in, we are going ahead, or rather, the entire money has been kept aside only for R&D purposes. We are an innovative company. I'll now talk a bit about what we do at Murlikrishna. As I mentioned earlier, we are a pre-finished formulation intermediate company. We were into pellets and micro pellets, etc. All range of a wide range of products, from anti-ulcerants, proton pump inhibitors, to anti-infectives, and anti-obesity, and so on and so forth. But now the way we are going in, for the last couple of years, we moved into nanoparticles in a big way. And today we are into a range of molecules which are going in from corticosteroids, inhalation drugs, ophthalmology, oncology, and transdermal oil. Now, what are all these, what we are doing? I mean, we are not trying to imitate the generic products. I'll be very honest about it. Probably that makes our journey more long or lengthier, Vijay. So what we are doing at this point is that we have made budesonide as a soft mist. Now, we still don't have a device for it, so I really can't talk much. We are still we are in discussions with a device manufacturer who can make a device identical to the one by Boehringer Ingelheim BI device, a non-patented BI device. This soft mist actually brings down the dosage of a product like budesonide by 1/20th times. It's like, so you are, in fact, when you look at black fungus, where you cannot give a patient corticosteroids, this kind of a drug would prove to be very effective, because you're reducing the dosage of the drug. You're bringing it down by 20 times and still having the same efficacy what a normal drug would have. Similarly, we are trying to use the same technology into a product like erlotinib, which is used for lung cancer. In ophthalmology, again, we have brought in products which have brought down the size. We have brought down the size from 7 or 8 microns for a product like brinzolamide. We have brought down the size to around 200, 300 microns, and 200 nanometers, 200 to 300 nanometers. So the reason for bringing down the size, of course, it increases the clinicals, the efficacy studies, the safety studies, and all. The reason is, most of these drugs which are used, especially for glaucoma, the problem is that the drug does not penetrate your eye. And when it does not penetrate your eye, half the drug goes off. That's a human methodology used for protecting your cornea and your eyes. But the minute you bring down the size and you're delivering the medication, you're delivering less medication and getting a better result out of it. And so nanoparticles has been our prime focus of late, and we are doing a good job in it. And hopefully the funds that have come into us during this pandemic season will go more towards funding our clinical studies and our necessary uh, safety data, toxicity studies, and related clinical studies. Another one product that we did come out with is liposomal encapsulation of multivitamins like D3, B12, and folic acid and iron. This we have blended, these liposomes we have blended in cold pressed oil. We have done clinicals on 444 babies, and from 0 to 6 months and 6 months to 12 months. And basically the study has proven that iron, the delivery of iron has increased, the bioavailability of iron has increased to 65 to 70% versus the 18% which is there in your oral iron. So this again is going to come in probably within this year, I think, or next year, latest by next year it will be there in the market as a finished formulation. The reason behind it being the lack of iron in Indian women and in babies. It can be used as a prophylactic product for the women, pregnant women specifically, because you cannot give oral iron to pregnant women. It's not good for them. It can cause either diarrhea, or it can cause constipation or any similar problem. So generally oral iron is avoided, and that is how anemia goes into the babies too. So this was another of our products, and this is going to be a flagship product of our company. And then there have been other molecules that we have worked on. We worked on paclitaxel. We are working on nab-paclitaxel, liposomal doxorubicin, liposomal irinotecan. So we are working on a lot of these molecules. But the plus point, yes, we are coming in with 2 more plants right now. One plant is going to be dedicated only to the finished formulations of all the nanoparticle products that we are making, because these will all go only as finished formulations and not as PFIs. And one is an oncological plant that we are setting up. Yeah, it may take 2 years more for the plants to come up completely, but yeah, we are on the pathway of trying to do something. Idea behind everything that we have done at Murlikrishna Pharma has been that if you can bring down the pain of a patient, I think you have done half your job or more than half your job. Because most of the drugs today do tend to leave a lot of side effects with the patients. And if we can try and give more targeted delivery, lower dosages, and a better delivery system, I think I personally, I and Vijay and my parents and all the people behind this company would feel we have done our job. Yeah, we will make money. I'm not saying we won't make money, because I'm not a socialist. But at the same time, we do our best for what we can for the people. But I would like to relieve the pain, if possible, associated with oncological treatments, associated with COPD patients and all. So let's see what happens. The road is long, and I'm still walking along it. Sometimes I feel like Alice in the Wonderland walking along the road, yellow brick road. So I thank you all for listening to me very patiently. And while I have not put much statistics on the table, I think statistics are known to all of you. There have been mergers, there have been acquisitions, but 21 probably will see more of it. 22 maybe more, subject to the fact that the third wave doesn't impact us more than it has. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Thank you.
For your insightful talk, now I request Mr. Satya Brahmaji to come onto the stage to present a memento as a mark of respect. Dr. Satya. Yeah, I was about to say from Mr. Satya to Dr. Satya.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is the last session of the talk, the presentation. We have with us the man who changed the face of homeopathy in India. someone who is considered as the father of Indian homeopathy, who started with one clinic and has taken it to global level. He was conferred the highest civilian award from the government of India, Padma Shri. We are privileged to have with us none other than Padma Shri Dr. Mukesh Batra, Chairman Dr. Batra's group of company, to give away the awards after we meet after the lunch. Thank you very much, sir, for coming here and doing the honor, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So again, I'll just do my duty, though you know what's happening now. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going for a lunch break. And after we come back, we will be presenting the much-awaited 14th Annual Pharma Leaders Power Brand Awards 2021. So, bon appetit.